because that actually looks really good in the in the thumbnail.
It's such a goofy image.
Yeah. It looks like something my sister would have owned.
It might have been,
Yeah.
actually.
I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to do that. I have, as you could well imagine, I have too many tabs open everywhere on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a very disorganized mind.
I feel like everybody has too many tabs open.
Yeah. I think mine is just terrible.
Like, I don't think I would trust a person who didn't have at least 12 tabs open on their primary browser.
See, the thing is, I probably shouldn't be doing that while we're streaming because, like, Chrome tabs take up a bunch of fucking memory.
That's true.
All right, cool. Are you ready? Let's
ready.
do this. Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is the Jedi Enclave Presents the Now This Is Podcasting podcast, our weekly podcast, which we're doing remote today because when you get to be an adult in your 30s, you spend time with a friend once a week, and that is quite enough. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I love you, Daniel, but like I need a little space.
Well, once a week, I think, especially since we literally sat through a marathon of Oppenheimer a couple days ago, which we're going to be talking about. I also got some Star Wars news, actually a couple of, like, neat Star Wars things. There isn't much otherwise Star Wars other than just some
Can we
news.
talk non-Star Wars for just a second?
Yeah.
So, like, in this past week, we got new trailers for the Marvels and then Invincible, like, just yesterday.
We got a new trailer for the Marvels?
Yeah. It's just a couple days ago.
Oh, I have not seen it.
I might or might not have sent it to you, but it's a whole bunch more Carol Danvers footage than we've seen before.
I haven't watched the Invincible trailer yet, also because I was doing some work when you sent it to me, but I'm definitely, and I kind of almost forgot about that a little bit, despite really enjoying the first season. I think the second season will be pretty neat.
They put out a teaser way earlier this year that was just like the main guy, Invincible, and then like the space alien from the moon just sitting in a diner talking about how this show is going to be out later this year. And
yeah, that's pretty
really
meta.
cute.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That might be a thing that we talk about a little bit when is that coming out?
November.
What is Ahsoka still? Yeah, Ahsoka's going to be happening in November.
Ahsoka's next month, I thought.
But it's at the end. It's the 28th, so it's definitely going to bleed into November. Oh, wait, hold on a second. November is not after August. What the fuck am I talking about?
September, October,
November.
November.
Okay, well, so I wonder what is happening.
Probably have time.
Yeah, that's something I kind of regret talking about before we kind of branched out and started doing just the shit that we enjoy in addition to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I kind of regret that we didn't talk about that because I had a lot of fun with that show. Today also we're doing some Marvel Secret Invasion, which had its newest episode on Wednesday, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure that Wednesday we can have our live show next week as scheduled.
Oh, wow, amazing.
At my house, which I think, like, we haven't had, that hasn't been around for a few weeks. Time codes, of course, are in the description of this video if you're watching this, the full podcast version on YouTube, which, by the way, go check us out at YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and also Discord. You can find the invite link to Discord in the description of the video here. And, of course, I would be a terrible person if I didn't thank our friend Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. Go check him out and his operation over there on Facebook, which is great, and I love it. And while you're here, obviously, subscribe, share the stream. I am doing a Battlefront stream tonight, not with you. However, with I'm pretty sure we're still on for it, but I'll be joining the British boys tonight, who I have not talked to in a while because they're kind of they're so amazing at this game that they just kind of retired from it because they haven't had a real challenge in like months. And
so they quit because there's nothing left to do.
Yeah, and like when the four of us play, I could just stand there and watch and they could take down like an experienced 4-man team, like the three of them, and I could just watch and like jerk off the whole time, and it'd be not really. I wouldn't do that. So let's get this ball rolling because I don't want to be here forever tonight. But let's start off with some Star Wars news, and this is going to be a recurring theme, I think, for the next few weeks, which is that the actor strike is having an enormous impact on Hollywood, and there are some near and dear projects to our hearts that we're not going to see for a long time, because this has just thrown a wrench into everything. And like, I'm urging you there listening, not you, Chris, because I think we have the same views on this, but try to resist the urge to get really upset at actors and writers about this, because it is not their fault. It is not too much to ask to be paid for the work that you do and to be paid fairly for it. But it looks like Andor season 2 is probably gonna be delayed quite a while, right? So like last week, before last week, the writers were striking, right? The Writers Guild of America, the WGA, yeah. And it was having a pretty big impact on everything, but there's a lot of stuff that like was past that, like the writing phase, and they were shooting. And then last week, there like one of the really big actors unions joined in on the strike as well, and that has fucked everything, because with all of your writers and most of your reputable like big name actors out, nothing is happening in Hollywood right now. And it's become this industry like wide strike. So so Andor is already in production. Like it's pretty like balls deep into production actually. And a while ago when the WGA strike started, Tony Gilroy, the writer, had to leave set because he was a member of the guild and everything. And you need a writer on set because you got to do on the spot rewrites. That's just the nature of the business. So now that the SGA is striking, like nothing, like no one's at work, with the exception of, I guess, there's another actors union that isn't striking called Equity. And all the actors they have that are British are allowed to film. And the British actors apparently are forbidden from their own union to join the strike in solidarity under threat of legal action.
Ooh,
which
sucks.
It does suck. And it like that's the reason, for example, like House of the Dragon season 2 will probably be fine. Like it'll probably arrive here on time, mostly because the actors are British and like, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But I guess they're kind of they're like no, you can't strike, you can't show any solidarity to them, get to work. But on the other side of that, they are probably paid very fairly. And American actors and writers, unless you're like a George Clooney type, where you get a $10 million deal for a film or something, are usually just pissed on and set on fire and be like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. So, you know.
So my uncle is a huge nerd. He is part of a Babylon 5 fan group on Facebook, believe it or not.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's
damn, that's some, yeah, it is not. And in fact, I was laughing at John the other day for being a part of a Star Trek Facebook group called "What Happens on the Holodeck Stays on the Holodeck," which I think is a hilarious fucking name for a Facebook group. Anyway,
so like one of the people in this Babylon 5 Facebook group was complaining about the actors strike and all that, and my uncle's response was, so according to IMDb, there were over 500 actors who appeared in some capacity on Babylon 5.
Yeah,
you know the names of maybe a dozen of them.
Yeah.
And this strike is about the other 500.
Yeah, exactly.
The people who don't have consistent gigs or aren't in starring roles and are barely making ends meet with whatever work they scrape together.
Right. Like one of the guys that we play Battlefront with has done minor roles in pretty much every TV show that is, you know, been, you know, that's happened within the last, you know, like decade or whatever, like as an extra or as like a really low level common role. And in fact, we were just talking, for the last few weeks I've been talking about a book I've been reading called Burn It Down, which is like an expose on the abusive practices of Hollywood, and I recommended it to him, and he's like, I don't know if I'll read it, honestly, just because of the PTSD that it could kind of drudge up, because those guys are so underappreciated. And it's like, this isn't like George Clooney being like, oh, I'm only getting $10 million instead of $12 million. How am I ever going to survive? Like, those aren't the guys that are really that affected by this. It's the guys that are doing off-Broadway shows, or like minor roles in TV shows and movies and stuff. And of course, because no one knows their name, Hollywood's like, oh, we'll just stand up upon their shoulders, and we'll take advantage of them, and everything will be fine. Which isn't right. It's fucking terrible.
I know you're a big Power Rangers fan, Daniel.
I am indeed.
You know Zordon, the dude in the tube, the face in the tube.
Played by Bryan Cranston, by the way, in the reboot.
Oh, cool. So the original Zordon was like a dude who like had a shaved head, and they like put some plastic gunk around his neck.
Yeah.
He acted for about an hour in one day and got $150, and never saw another penny for the seasons and seasons that his likeness was used during Power Rangers run. Yeah,
and another really good example of this is David Prowse, who played the body. He was the body of Darth Vader throughout all the Star Wars, and George Lucas and Lucasfilm and Fox fucked him so hard over. He didn't get paid for any of the movies that he made. These are movies that made so much money. We'll never understand how much money those the three original films made, and he didn't get a fucking dime for it, which is terrible. It's just fucking terrible. Yeah. So
I guess the bottom line here is that I hope the actors and the writers all keep striking until they get everything they're asking for, because holy shit, they've been so underappreciated and underpaid for so long.
Yep. Yeah, I can wait. I can wait for however long we need to wait to not have Star Wars, if it means people get paid, what they're deserved.
Speaking of writers, let's talk about Lando for a second. So you remember way back in like 2020 when Disney announced there was going to be a Lando show?
Yes. Well, I don't think, did they announce it, or was it just a rumor?
Kathleen Kennedy made an announcement in late 2020.
Oh yeah, because I'm sure that they're like, listen, Kathleen, you can't, I know we gotta
stop announcing stuff.
I know we have plans to do this, but we can't deliver them. So we have to stop telling people, like, when it's out in theaters, then we'll tell them it's coming. Otherwise, we can't we can't live up to these promises.
So a guy by the name of Justin Simeon is listed as the writer on the Lando series. He was doing an interview because he's also working on Disney's Haunted Mansion, which is coming to theaters very soon. Someone asked him about, hey, what's going on with Lando? Have you heard anything? He said, no, I heard the announcement in 2020, and that's the last I've heard of it. No one's called me about it at all.
Yeah, this paired with the news that was coming out last week about them scaling back the number of Star Wars and Marvel Disney Plus shows that they're doing, it is a kind of a death blow to this. I don't think it's gonna happen.
That plus the strikes, like, if we see Lando, it's not gonna be for 4 or 5
years. It'll be for quite a while, which is too bad, because Donald Glover is like kind of made for that part. He's so good.
He is the best part of Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what?
I don't think it's controversial to say that, but like,
I don't think so either.
He's so good.
And it's funny because I like that movie actually has some, like, if you look at it kind of objectively and not like you've watched a bunch of fucking YouTube videos and gotten your opinion from them, there are some good parts of that movie. Like it's not the Star Wars movie that I rewatch every time I think about Star Wars, but we rewatched it a few months ago, and I was like, you know what? It's pretty fucking good. It's not the best movie I've ever seen. It's certainly not the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen, but Alden Ehrenreich makes a good Han Solo. I don't give a fuck what you say. Like, he was good. And you know what? Also, I would have really loved to see the Lord and Miller version of that movie before they killed it, because it was more like based around improvisation, and there was a little bit more comedy to it. And after seeing a bunch of other stuff that Lord and Miller have done, including the Spider-Verse movies, I bet it was probably amazing. We'll never know. The world will never see that cut of the movie, but it's like, I bet it was pretty great. Okay, this is pretty interesting to me. So this is being reported from Giant Freaking Robot, which is an online thing. And I will, before we get into this, Giant Freaking Robot seems to have an established standard for exclusives like this. And at the very least, they seem to issue corrections when they're wrong, which they like you don't see Mike Zero or Star Wars Theory doing shit like that, right? So this is still like a pinch of salt, grain of salt kind of a deal, but for me it's a little bit higher bar. But apparently Keanu Reeves has shot a cameo for The Acolyte.
Oh,
which I think is kind of a huge deal, and I'm not sure how I feel about it either. But
I'm 100% in favor of this.
I'm not sure if I am. So I've mentioned this one thing a billion times to people. I don't think I've shown you all of the super critical things you need to see in Game of Thrones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I would pull you to my house and we'd watch an episode.
Today we're gonna watch the Battle of the Bastards,
right? And it's like all the big snapshots. You probably didn't get to see Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones.
I don't think I did.
He's only in like one scene, and then he's mentioned later on by a prostitute, and he got his face melted off by a dragon. But he's in an episode of Game of Thrones, and it's a good scene, and he does fine in it, and it's a really nice scene between him and Arya Stark and some other like Lannister troops. It felt like the least Game of Thrones thing I've ever seen because I wasn't able to look at him and be like, oh, he's a guy in the Lannister army. It's like, that's fucking Ed Sheeran. He is one of the most recognizable faces in the world. There's a reason why Star Wars has classically hired for their main roles, or I mean, even for their non-main roles, with one or two small exceptions.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, not a ton of people knew about. I mean, Harrison Ford was. It wasn't like today.
A pretty established actor.
Yeah, but it wasn't like episode 4 is kind of a weird exception because they had to have a big name to get that movie done. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it because they needed some name. Like the suits were like, we got to have someone in this movie that people will go and see. After that, generally, they hired actors that no one knew anything about. I mean, the lead role of Star Wars, Mark Hamill. No one knew who the fuck he was. No one. Daisy Ridley, I think, had like shot a fucking like a commercial. Like that was her acting experience. No one knew who Hayden Christensen was. No one really knew who Ewan McGregor was. Natalie Portman was still fairly unknown as well. And the reason is because you can cast whatever story onto their face that you want. And like the exception, of course, like Sam Jackson being in the prequel trilogy is really the only notable exception I can think of. Being like an insanely well-known actor.
Adam Driver was at least known a little bit before.
And just because I didn't know an actor doesn't mean that he was unknown. But I don't think he was that known before Force Awakens.
Plus, what's his name, Qui-Gon.
Oh, sure, Liam Neeson. Yeah, that would be that would definitely be an exception. Yeah, except that Liam Neeson is never like he's a famous actor, but honestly, and don't take this the wrong way if you're a Liam Neeson fan, most of his movies are really bad. Like,
okay, yeah, fair.
Like the Taken series, apparently, pretty fucking bad. He's in actually a movie I really like called Rob Roy. It's from decades ago. We should watch it. It's really great. Anyway, so that's my concern about it. However, the thing that like sits on the other end of the scale for this is the fact that he looks like the most Jedi motherfucker I've ever seen. Like Keanu Reeves might be a real life Jedi. So like if he looks the part and he's good in it, like I think it'll matter a little less that he's so famous.
So the reasons I'm totally in favor of it are, first, John Wick, where he does some really good action stuff. Yeah,
the dude's a fucking genius. He's a very talented martial artist as well. So he does like his own or at least a lot of his own stunts and shit. And you know what? People undervalue, except for the people who've seen it. People undervalue John Wick. I'm not generally a run and gun action movie kind of guy. The John Wick movies are fucking brilliant. Like, they're really good movies, and he's good in them. I know that like some people have some problems with like he's kind of stoic, and his delivery can be just kind of like flat, but it's just kind of that's how he talks. It's just kind of how he is. So like I don't know.
My other thought is that Cyberpunk 2077, which I know you're not a huge fan of.
Yeah, I liked him in
Like,
it.
it features Keanu Reeves very prominently as like a 3D graphics version of himself.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
Like he fits in the world.
Yeah,
so
that was one of the parts of that the game that I really enjoyed. I liked him in that a lot.
So I think with good costuming and good makeup, I think it could be a very good cameo.
Yep. And it also, like, first of all, this might not even be real, so it could all be for nothing. But also, it could be this tiny little thing too, which you know, in retrospect, could be like, oh, why were we freaking out about this in the first place?
Could be John Williams in Episode 9, right?
Yeah.
He's just a dude in the cantina.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite Star Wars cameo. I think he just looks like what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I have forever forged and ensured the path of orchestral music in the entire world for the last 60 years of my career, and here I am wearing a prosthetic fucking eyepiece pretending to be an alien. What's
anyway,
next?
Talking about actors, let's talk about John Boyega.
Mm-hmm.
So you might remember.
Yes, and this is going to come. This is I predict. We were talking last week about testable novel predictions. Yep. I think that what you're about to tell us about is going to start popping up once or twice a week now for a while, or at least for the foreseeable future. We're going to start seeing more and more John Boyega stories.
Maybe. So you might remember after episode 9, John Boyega was very unhappy with how he was treated and how his character was treated, and with Star Wars in general.
Yes. And in fact, go ahead and do your thing, but I want to add something to this because I know that that people are always really shocked to know how much I love The Last Jedi. But just like everything else that exists, nothing is perfect. And there's a very specific writing thing with John Boyega that I really dislike about The Last Jedi that we're going to talk about. But go ahead.
So, he was really unhappy, and he gave a bunch of interviews to the effect of, I'm really unhappy with Star Wars, and I don't ever want to do it again.
Yeah.
A few years have passed since then, and he has apparently either mellowed out or changed his mind, possibly because of a bucket of money from Disney.
Yeah.
And he's given a few interviews where he's sort of walked it back a little bit and said, I'm open to all characters and all scripts. Like if someone brings an offer to me, I'll consider it with an open mind. This plus last week we were talking about how Daisy Ridley had apparently been working behind the scenes to try to convince John Boyega to come back and do the new Jedi or a Star Wars project.
From what I understand, they're actually pretty close. Like in real life, they enjoy each other quite a bit. Not like that, but like they're they're like friends.
And this has led to eventually John Boyega going on social media and saying, "Look, if I was in anything, I would tell you. Like I'd tell you as soon as I could. I'm not in anything currently. Like, don't believe the rumors. Just listen for actual news," which is kind of responsible, but also what I would expect someone under a Disney NDA to say.
Yeah, it could literally be a lie. In fact, from now on, I just assume whenever someone's like, I'm not in that, fucking lie. Like, unless they're dead. And even nowadays, if you're dead, you're still going to be in a movie anyway. It doesn't even matter.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think he probably... I really respect the stand that he took over how his character was treated and how he was treated as an actor, as a black actor. And he obviously has my support for that. It is a reality, however, that is an industry that if you burn bridges, you will never work there again. That is just the nature of it. And I could see John Boyega making the decision to kind of tone down his criticism so he can work. And I'm not the person who can be like, that's right or that's wrong, or that's cowardly or whatever. It's his torch to bear, but you also have to work. And if his dream is being an actor, maybe he'll use it. He'll find a good balance of be an actor, but also try to change things in a way that still gets him work. So.
What I can absolutely believe happened is John Boyega was young and angry, and he had an outlet in the press and gave these interviews saying, I'm angry, I want things to be different. And then, shortly after those interviews circulated, his agent or someone in his inner circle pulled him aside and said, "Look, you need to walk this back. Or at the very least, just stop giving interviews until you've cooled down a little bit, because you won't work anymore if you keep doing this."
Yeah, I kind of appreciate this. I wrote a paper, or not a paper. I wrote a a column. When we were in school, I wrote for a column that was really popular in our school paper called Some Pithy Conjecture. And when there was a beloved dean at our school that was fired, and it was wrong. And I wrote a scathing, maybe irresponsible column that almost got me expelled from school. So, like, I get it. Like there are certain ways to fight the fight, and you got to live to fight another day. So, So I'm gonna give you this next part. That way I can clip it, and we can get some clickbait going.
Oh boy!
But I'm gonna tell you what I hate about Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which is almost nothing, by the way. Actually, I think it's fucking great, and it's my third favorite Star Wars movie. And if you want to come at me about that, you can eat my ass, and I'll fucking enjoy it. However, like I said, there is no perfect film, and there's one thing that just really fucking gets me, and I wish I could go back in time and grab Rian Johnson by the shirt and be like, "You haven't considered this." And I consider myself to be, where writing is concerned, educated. I as a hobby, I've written a lot, but I've also taken the coursework and some of the coursework and everything, and it's one of those things I'm interested in. So when someone's like, "Oh, the writing's really bad," it's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I kind of do, though. And there's this thing when you're writing a story where you have to make good on the promises that you make, right? In a plot. So you set up a tone. Like if you're writing a novel, you set up a tone in the beginning, and you're making a promise. Or if you write a character and you give them a motivation, you are making a promise to the reader, to the viewer, that something is going to happen. And when that
Chekhov's gun, right? If there's a gun on the wall in scene 1, it must go off in act 2 or whatever. Yeah, that is the whole Chekhov's thing is a very clumsy, unsubtle version of what I'm talking about, but basically yes. Yeah. And there was a promise made to the viewer at the end of Force Awakens and at the beginning of The Last Jedi that Finn was going to find and reunite with Rey, and that was what his purpose was going to be. And it's not what happens with him in The Last Jedi. And to me, that story is one big flaw, which I could find in every Star Wars movie with the exception of Empire and Jedi, because they're both, to me, probably perfect movies. But that promise, he starts off, the first fucking thing that character says, "Where is Rey?" Right? Mm-hmm. And it goes from that to meeting Rose and then going off on an adventure to find a code breaker, and they don't even look at each other until the very end. And when they do, that promise is unfulfilled because they've done nothing together to kind of fulfill that. Do you see where what I kind of mean by the whole promises thing? That's the thing about Last Jedi that I really do not like. Yeah. So, real quick before we move along here, some more Star Wars Outlaws news that I found pretty interesting. Have you played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, by the way? Yes.
Okay.
Not Odyssey, but a bunch of the others.
Okay. In any way, I might ask for your knowledge on this, because I think I've played the first game a little bit and was like, this is really boring, and I never played any of them. And I know that apparently there are other ones that are a lot better and everything. I totally get that. So Star Wars Outlaws creative director Julian Girardi spoke to Edge magazine, and he's talking about the open worldness of the game and the size of it and the scale of it. And apparently exploring each playable planet will be a quote an odyssey in itself. And said that some of the worlds will be double or triple the size of one of Assassin's Creed Odyssey's playable zones, which I don't know how big that is, but I assume
pretty big.
I would assume that it is massive if he's bragging about it, because you're not gonna go to Edge magazine and be like, I got a 5-inch dick, it's fucking huge, right? And 5 inches, that's not, that's fine, but it's you're not gonna go to a magazine and brag about it, right? Mm-hmm. So I assume that if he's bragging about it to Edge magazine, that's a really big fucking dick map, whatever the fuck we're going with this. And the other thing that stuck out to me was that all the worlds apparently are designed from scratch and are not procedurally generated. So However, so like in Elite Dangerous or No Man's Sky, you can land on a planet and explore the entire planet, right?
Yes.
And it's procedurally generated, which means that every world it takes a bunch of parameters that it knows already, puts them together, and makes a new thing, right?
Yeah.
That is not the case for this game. The way they do planets is different too. You can't explore the entire planets. There are only like a few locations that you can go.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't go and explore the whole damn thing, which I think
sure.
is
The focus of these games is different, right?
Yeah.
No Man's Sky
right.
or a game like that, it's about finding and exploring the entire universe.
Right.
This is more about like the missions you undertake as
yes,
and sort of this handcrafted experience.
The story,
of going
right?
On these heists and things.
Yes. Speaking of which, it was also talking about the extensive freedom, and the impact that your decisions have on the game with the reputation system, which looks a lot like Red Dead Redemption 2, where you meet a guy and you could get a mission for him, or you could just shoot him in the head, and then have the cops after you, and then everyone's like, oh, you just shot a guy in the head. That's fucking terrible. And at the end of the game, there are like 3 or 4 different endings that you could get, and they're drastically different. Within its own thing, but it's not like I've heard of these kinds of games where like you're made to think that your decisions impact the story, but at the end it really doesn't matter what you do. Like the end is the end. So
Mass Effect is the poster child for this,
right? Which I have not played all the way through, but I've heard that exact thing. Is that's a big problem with Mass Effect.
Your choices matter in that they are very cosmetic, and you get various blue or red points. But when you get to the end, it's basically just the end.
Right. So I don't know. I'm excited about this game. They've given me enough for Star Wars Outlaws that I am now kind of like, give me this fucking game. Like I want to play it now. Which is funny because
pretty neat.
It is, and I'm also trying not to get myself whipped into a hysteria over Starfield. Mm-hmm. But I think it might be too late because I've been looking forward to it for so long, and they put it off a couple of times, and now like it looks like they can't put it off anymore. Like it's because it kind of seems like Xbox's general well-being might hinge on this game. And so like they're like, this game needs to go out or we might go bankrupt. Like I'm because that comes out in like September, I think, right? And
does it?
It comes out pretty soon, and I'm like trying not to have a constant erection about it. One of the guys that we played Battlefront with like went and bought the collector edition watch and shit. Yeah, and I was like, I'm not going that balls deep because I don't want to be upset. You know, you're like, you're gonna get it. It's gonna be some like shitty $10 Walmart watch with some paint on it or some shit. So, let's talk about some Marvel. Also, we don't have Battlefront after this, so like we can
go a little long,
we can go a little long, but I don't want to be here forever. We're not going to go all 3 hours of Oppenheimer because while I love that film, it just that just isn't very interesting to listen to.
There's just too much,
right?
Yeah.
Before we move along, though, Chris says, by the way, we're live right now, so if you want to throw something in the chat and say hello, or run over to the voice channel of our Discord and put something there, I'll read it when it makes sense. Chris says, "May the force be with you, Daniel and Chris. Thank you for both being one of my favorite Star Wars channels." What do you mean, one of your? Why are we not your favorite Star Wars channel? I demand an answer. Igor says, "Hello, Jedi. Hi, Enclave." Hello. And I'm not sure which of us is Jedi and which one of us is Enclave. And I've never thought about splitting us up like that, but here we are. All right, so there was a new episode of Marvel Secret Invasion on Wednesday.
Yep.
Which at this point is just Marvel Sam Jackson being a badass.
Yeah.
That's like the subtitle of the show. Most people probably, if you care about it, you've probably seen it by now. Since it's like usually we do these like the day of, and so spoilers are kind of a big deal. However, I guess not a ton of people are watching the show, which is too bad because it is really good.
It's really good.
Yeah,
like if you at all liked Andor, if you at all like the Bourne movies, like this is the show. Or
indie spycraft kind of thing.
It's really good.
And I totally get it. I know that there have been some Marvel shows that have been just kind of like lukewarm.
Yeah.
Like Hawkeye was fun, but I didn't love it. And honestly, Captain America or
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
yeah, I didn't hate it, but it was like I haven't even seen it a second time yet.
That show had some very troubled production.
Yeah, and so did right, and so did Hawkeye. Actually, Hawkeye was, I think, fine production wise.
Hawkeye turned out okay.
Yeah, but there was and I know like there's some weird things happening with Marvel right now, and I tend to agree that the overall level of quality has not maintained since Endgame. Like I totally agree with that, and I kind of see people's point, with some notable exceptions. Like I think both of the Spider-Man, which aren't even really exactly MCU, have been brilliant. I've really liked, I thought WandaVision was really good, but honestly, like Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness was a kind of a swing and a miss for me, and and some of the shows have been as well. So I totally get why people haven't been super excited about it. However, if you trust my judgment on this, if you like our commentary and shit, and you think that we're kind of smart about this shit, I'm telling you, man, like Secret Invasion is neat. It is really cool, and I've had a fucking blast watching it. So
definitely worth your time, I think.
Also spoilers. So
yes.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it and come back.
So episode 5, Harvest. Previously on Secret Invasion, the president was attacked in probably the least believable thing in a show about space aliens invading the Earth.
So I went on a big thing last week because I have a family member that was in the Secret Service, and so having thought about it a little bit, looking at through the lens of some of those some of those Secret Service guys might have just been Skrulls, is a perfect explanation as to why shit like that could have happened. Yeah.
That actually builds into this opening sequence, I think.
Yeah. So it's like, I probably shouldn't have gotten too critical with that, because it didn't matter about how unbelievable it was. It was still a lot of fun. I still loved it.
Mm-hmm. So the president's being wheeled into an operating room, and Nick Fury is walking along with the doctor.
Hold on. Speaking of this opening thing here, like we started watching this, and I'm like, where is his Secret Service detail? Like it's an empty hallway. It's just like, and they make a gag about this when Rhodey shows up about who they allow in and shit. Yeah. And it's just like, oh my god.
Well, this makes sense when you remember that Fury just kind of hauled the president into his own car without any Secret Service and just drove to the hospital.
Yeah, just took the highway. Yeah.
So Fury's walking along, like whispering in the president's ear, telling, "Look, okay, it was not the Russians. No, I need you to remember, it was not the Russians who did this. And also, do not trust Rhodey. That motherfucker is a Skrull."
Yeah, I like how he's trying to through osmosis, just because he knows that he's unconscious and he can't hear him, but he's like, maybe my voice, the sound of my voice will just penetrate his skull and go into his brain, and he'll just know.
Yeah. So they get to the operating room, and doctors are like, "Look, okay, you're not cleared. I need you to stay right out here because there's medical shit happening on the other side of this door." And Fury's like, "Motherfucker!" So he grabs a chair and he pulls out his gun and just sits down and just guards the operating room. It's just
Nick Fury is like, you know what? I'll just grab my own chair. I got my own fucking gun. We'll be fine. This is enough.
So back at Camp Skrull, the Skrulls who attack the president are just getting back to their nuke plant. Pagan is none too happy about how everything has gone down.
Yeah.
And he kind of glares at Gravik as they're all getting out.
He's been kind of a naysayer the entire show too.
Yeah. So Gravik assembles all the operatives and Pagan is like, "Hey, good job, Gravik. You fucking killed Talos. Good job." And Gravik's like, "What the fuck do I care about Talos, dude? The president's still alive.
Yeah.
And furthermore, if you'd fucking done your job and stolen what I sent you after, I could have taken out that convoy all by myself."
Mm-hmm.
Pagan is like, wait a minute. Why the fuck should we believe you? You had 50 fucking chances to kill Nick Fury and you never did." Gravik says, "Well, Fury has what we need. Why would I kill him?"
Mm-hmm.
Pagan is like, "All right, smartass. If you know so much, then why wasn't the Avengers' DNA in any of the places you told us to look? Fury obviously never trusted you. Why should we?" And at this point, Gravik is just like, "Okay, interesting arguments. However, counterpoint, let me stab a tree limb through your chest."
Yeah, let's see how we feel after that.
And all the other Skrulls kind of look at this and they're like,
he really did. He just shish kebabs the fuck out of that guy with a fucking tree limb. Yeah.
Gravik's like, "All right, look, all you other people, he thought he had a voice. He does not. You do not have voices. You have no faces. You work for me, or you get what Pagan got. So
a tree limb through the chest, just in case anyone missed it. If you weren't in the room, I can grow my arm into a tree limb. It's not that big of a deal. It's kind of a big deal, but I'm just telling you, you fuck with me, I'm gonna shish kebab you with a tree. Go about your business. Do with that information what you will.
Yeah. By the way, I told Fury's wife to kill him, and she didn't. So, like, some of you should probably go deal with that.
Yeah,
and, kill her.
Like, I like how it's like, that's so weird. I asked her to kill her husband, and she didn't. Why? Why wouldn't she?
What's up with that?
Everyone's looking at him like, bro, like that's his wife. Like not his fake wife. Like they literally fucked.
Wife.
Yeah, like they've done the fuck. So like, why would she?
So
yeah, he was like, yeah, go fucking kill her. She's on my nerves.
Yeah. So the operatives all file out, and Beto kind of looks down at Pagan's corpse, and then looks up at Gravik, and he kind of walks out slowly. And like Gravik kind of sees him doing this.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Gravik just didn't kill him too.
Yeah,
because I mean, you know, with a look like that, the dude is probably working against you.
Yeah. So Gravik pulls out his phone and calls Rhodey. He's like, "Hey, keep the president alive, and I want you to tell him that it was a Russian Skrull alliance that attacked you." Rhodey's like, "Why the fuck would I do that? Like, the whole point is that we're supposed to take over the planet. We can't do that if we're dead."
Yeah.
Gravik's like, "Don't worry about it. This is going to give us leverage on Fury."
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to see innocent Skrulls die.
Yeah, it's a scheme. So, I'm forming a scheme, Rhodey. Just fucking listen to me. Did you see me shish kebab this man with a tree limb?
No, I didn't, because I was on the phone.
Yeah. Well, it could happen to you.
Rhodey's like, "Oh, all right, what happens if this doesn't work?" And Gravik says, "Then, we're all prepared to make a sacrifice, and that's what we're going to do."
I mean, there's so much like literal cult behavior with, and that's obviously what they're going for. Like it's not very subtle, but I have a like kind of a fleeting interest in learning about cults because they're just kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
There's a really good scale of how to determine like the difference between like you wouldn't call mainstream religion like normal garden variety Christianity, you wouldn't call that a cult, but you would call Scientology a cult.
Yes,
because like they like satisfy certain criteria, and like Gravik's whole operation is like check marks down the fucking row, like absolutely 100% cult.
So Rhodey gets to the hospital and he asks the doctor, "Where's the president?" And she points him down the hall. He's like, "Motherfucker, these people giving out classified information." Just tells the Secret Service guys, fucking lock this place down.
Yeah.
So Rhodey's walking down the hall and Fury just comes out of nowhere, slams him up against the wall, pulls his gun on him, and is like, hey, how we doing here? Rhodey's like, "Hey, thanks for saving the president. Now get the fuck out of here." Fury's like, "Why the fuck would I leave the president with a Skrull?"
Yeah.
Rhodey says, "Well, you see, in order to out me, you have to kill me, which you're not going to do because the Secret Service will kill you and you're not ready to die."
I swear to God, this just could be the brilliance of Sam Jackson. There for a moment, I saw in his eye just the thought, like, I just might kill you. It might be worth it.
Also, this is not technically true because he could have pulled a Sonya and like chopped his
finger.
Fingers.
Yeah.
But
you would expect that he would know something like that. I mean, his wife is a Skrull, so you would expect that he, But it wouldn't matter because, like, you expose him there in front of the Secret Service, but they're all Skrulls too. So, like, who the fuck are you gonna tell?
Also, Rhodey continues. That footage of you killing Maria Hill? Well, that's about to go out to every single major news organization on the planet.
Not cool, man. Not cool.
You might want to start running before, the police in every single country in the world come after you. Fury's like, "You motherfucker." He just pistol whips him and walks away.
Yeah, he does. He just gives him he doesn't even knock him out. He's like, I'm gonna hit you and it's gonna hurt. And it's just gonna be for me.
Just because I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
So Fury's walking away. The entire fucking Secret Service runs down the hall and pulls their guns on him. Rhodey's like, "Seriously, stay the fuck away from the president." Fury's like, "All right, you tell Gravik I'm coming to fuck him with a 9mm." And Rhodey says, "Okay, that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Maybe you should deliver that message in person because I don't feel like I could properly convey the meaning here."
Also, with or without consent. Which we could all probably get. Yeah. We'll let you guess.
So we get the opening credits, and then we go to London, where the SIS director is watching a news report on Fury shooting Maria Hill, when Sonya walks into his office, and she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Do you really think the Skrulls are invading the Earth?" And she's like, "Yes. In fact, I think there's a Skrull in this office right now." And she points a gun at him, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" She's like, "You're going to tell me where Dr. Rosa Dalton is." And he doesn't answer, so she's like, "Okay, great." She shoots him in the leg.
Yeah.
And two SIS agents come running in with guns drawn. They're like, "What the fuck?" And she's
What,
like,
what is happening? I don't know. What?
She's like, "Actually, if you look at this man's hand right now, it's kind of green. And not like he's sick or anything. It's literally green because he's a Skrull."
Yeah.
So she turns back to the director and says, "Look, you aren't technically protected by any laws or policies right now. So if you don't want me to horribly torture and kill you, you should probably tell me what I want to know."
Yeah. I love this character.
Yeah, she's so good.
Also, I don't know what I think it was just the way that she like pointed her gun when she first walked in there. I really thought she was just going to shoot him in the head without asking any questions. And no, I get it.
See it, but
yeah,
it's not
no,
really
I get
her
it.
style.
Right. She's not she's not just malevolent, you know.
Yeah.
And the information matters more than anything else. But
Yes.
there for a moment, I was like, she might just ice that dude just without any questions.
Yeah. Like with Sonya, the malevolence always serves a purpose.
Yeah. Well, everything. I really wonder what her like when she's alone, no one's watching, what her general personality is, because I feel like every little interaction she has is some kind of facade that is like crafted to get an angle. Like her real friendly, bubbly thing is very disarming, you know, or she could just cut your fucking finger off and torture you. She's got that part of her too.
Basically, Marvel, we need a Sonya show.
Oh yeah.
Just Sonya solo movie.
Yep.
Anyway, so back at Camp Skrull, Gravik is just chilling in the cafe, and Beto walks up and says, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And Gravik's like, "Yeah, sure. Well, what's on your mind?" And Beto's like, "So about how Pagan and how you kind of stabbed him with a tree limb." Gravik is like, "Well, yeah, he failed us. Are you scared?" And Beto's like, "Yeah, a little bit."
You shish kebabbed a man with a tree. I am a little scared.
Yeah. So Gravik's like, "Oh, hold that thought. I'm getting a call." And it's Rhodey, who says, the president is out of surgery, and he'll steer the president into attacking Russia now. So, and Rhodey hangs up, and, Gravik had been walking through the cafe while he took this call. So he hangs up, and then a Skrull, slams him in the back with a sledgehammer, and another Skrull pulls a plastic bag over his head, and they're trying to kill him, because, they've had enough.
Yeah, they're doing a little mutiny.
Yeah, it goes pretty well for them for about a minute, and then Gravik has had enough of their bullshit.
Yeah.
Reverts to Skrull form and just starts beating the shit out of all of them.
Yes, I appreciate that Gravik isn't just a cult of personality. Like, for example, and I'm not saying this should ever happen, okay? But like if Donald Trump were in this situation, he would just fall over.
He's just dead.
Right. But I appreciate that Gravik isn't just a doughy, fat, feckless idiot that like people follow. He's fucking deadly, right? Like he's a really good fighter, and he's a really good tactician, and it takes literally you got to bring more than 6 guys to the fight if you're going to beat him.
Yeah, like they brought 4 and they fucking lost.
Yeah.
So Gravik fucking grabs Beto, throws him out the window of the cafe, comes out screaming, "Who wants a piece of me? Anyone else want to try while we're doing this?" And Beto's like, "You're a fucking monster, man." And Gravik just grabs this knife that he had taken from one of the other Skrulls and just slits his throat right in front of an audience of 30 of his best operatives.
Yep. Yeah, he's like, "Yes, I'm a monster. I'm also part tree now."
Yes.
So,
and all of you, just in case any of you were thinking of trying this, I can also slit all of your throats or impale you with tree limbs.
Yeah.
So
depends on what day it is, what mood I'm in.
Yeah, just let me know what you prefer.
Yeah.
So Fury is sneaking around London because the cops are after him, and he kind of
he's not sneaking very hard though, is he? I thought that was really he's like, look, you know, like the best way to blend in is to not look like you're trying to blend in. Just be natural and just walk down the street, right? Which he does very well. He has a swagger about him that I really appreciate.
So he lets himself into the building where he organized his Skrull spies back in 1995 or whatever. He as he enters, he notices that one of the a strip of tape he'd arranged over a door is ajar, meaning that someone else was inside. And like there's a nice moment where he kind of notices that and then pulls his gun as he's walking around. And he gets to the room where he met all the Skrulls, and Gaia is waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, this mural, I played in this room when I was a kid. And Fury's like, yeah, Brixton after World War II was an immigrant community, and it was a big struggle for them to just live their lives here.
Right. And
obviously now Daenerys is upset that her father died on a foreign planet fighting for people who don't care about him.
Yeah.
Fury's like, look.
And she doesn't even really have time to grieve, is the thing.
Yeah. Fury's like, look, your dad didn't lose. He died fighting for what he believed in. Like, he made this sacrifice of his own will for something that he thought was right.
Yeah.
Also, before he died, your dad told me that you're a super Skrull. Kid, what DNA does Gravik have? And she says Cull Obsidian and Flora Colossus.
Yeah.
But only because he only has those two because he couldn't find the harvest.
Yeah.
And Fury hears the words the harvest and he's just like, oh shit.
Yeah. Which we I appreciate, like, you're obviously going to tell us a little bit later what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I like when John and I were watching it, it was like, I think I know where this is going. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, all right, look, I need to bury my father. And Fury's like, okay, here's my car keys. Your dad is in the trunk. Just go talk to Priscilla. She'll know what to do. I'm going to Finland. And then there's sirens outside. He's like, shit. So he starts running from the cops. We cut to Sonya, who is looking through a microscope in this delightful, like, greenhouse in an English house.
Yeah, it's like a little cottage. Yeah.
Yeah. And the couple who own the house come out there, and like the dude has a shotgun, and she's like,
"Who the fuck are you?"
She's like, "Oh, hello, Skrulls. Now, you have a choice. On the one hand, option 1 is I could be your bestie, or option 2, I could fucking murder the both of you right now."
Yeah, in front of one another.
Yeah, just, like I don't really have preferences either way, so you just tell me what you want, and we'll make that happen. And the dude is like, "Get the fuck out of here," and she's like, "Nigel, you ignorant slut, I'm gonna have to like fire you or shoot you or something." The dude's like, "My name is Victor," and she's like, yes, but Nigel is the guy behind you with a gun pointed at your head.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh shit, I guess he is."
Yeah. Nigel's her dude though, because what she actually says is Nigel, I'm gonna have to. She says something that I don't know. The way it's written is it's kind of clever, and he just kind of like steps into frame. I'm like, oh damn, yeah. Nigel, you got some moves, man.
So Sonya's like, okay, now, Dr. Dalton, what the fuck were you doing here with nuclear reactor blueprints and alien DNA samples? Like, can you just explain to me what was happening here?
Science stuff?
So the two of them get arrested, and Sonya's guys are like pulling evidence out, and then they burn down the lab. And Victor breaks his handcuffs, punches the SIS guy, pulls a gun, like grabs Rosa, he's holding her hostage, and Sonya's like, so the thing is, I absolutely believe that you would rather shoot her than let her betray Gravik. So instead of letting you do that, I'm just going to shoot you. And she shoots him in the head.
In the fucking forehead. And so they can get away with stuff like this because like Skrull blood is purple.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how they get around it being a rating issue because it's not like red blood. It doesn't really look real. But she shoots that motherfucker right between the eyes. Yeah.
Stone cold murders him right there.
Damn.
Yeah. So Gaia is like out in the car, and she has a moment like just sitting in the back of the car with Talos's corpse, and Emilia Clarke does a really good understated performance in this scene, just sort of just sitting there.
Yeah.
Not even any dialogue. She doesn't really move. It's just her face and her body language and it looks like genuine grief to me.
Yeah.
So she goes up and she knocks on the door and says, "Hey, Priscilla, you here?" And there's no answer. So she kind of like forces her way in and very cautiously draws her gun and is walking around. She gets to the kitchen and Priscilla steps out pointing a gun at her and says, "Oh, so you're the one here to fucking kill me." And Guy's like, actually, no. Like, my hands are up. Like, Fury told me that you would help bury my father. So
why? Are there people on the way here to kill you?
So Rhodey goes to see the president. He's like, "Hey, Mr. President, how you doing? You look like shit. Can I interest you in taking out some frustration with bombs?"
You're an
like,
American. This will make you.
Yeah.
This will make you feel better.
So, don't get mad, but there are Skrulls on Earth, and they helped attack you. And oh hey, would you look at that? We have satellite footage showing that they're living in Russia.
Yeah.
So like our allies are totally on board. You know, Sonia at SIS helped me get this footage. So why don't we just fucking send in the troops and bomb the shit out of Russia?
Yeah.
The president's like, wait a minute, if we do that, World War III starts. Like that seems like a bad idea. Rhodey's like, well, yes, but it's either we start World War III or the Skrulls replace us and take our planet. Now, fucking sign on the dotted line. Let's get this shit started.
Yeah. What's so bad about World War III?
Yeah.
That's not that big of a deal.
So Fury is in a car just riding along.
Sorry. By the way, what rank? What job does Rhodey have where he's the sole person that has the president's ear over stuff like this? He must be like the Secretary of Defense, maybe.
Maybe
because if he was Joint Chiefs, he'd be wearing a uniform. Right,
well,
he
does wear a uniform, but I believe he's a colonel, which would be a very low rank to be on the Joint Chiefs staff.
He just wears a suit.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Actually.
Yeah, he doesn't wear like an armed forces uniform or anything. Yeah. So he must be like Secretary of Defense, maybe. Yeah.
Anyway, so Fury is just riding in a car, and Gravik calls him. He's like, and then they have a little discussion about how Fury always thinks he's a step ahead of Gravik, and Fury's like, nah, man, I need jet fuel to stay a step ahead of you.
I love how condescending this is, by the way.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Gravik's like, okay, look, I'll make you a deal. You give me the harvest, and I'll have the president not bomb Camp Skrull. Fury's like, interesting offer. Counter offer. You stay right there, and I will come kill you. How's that sound?
I don't like that as much.
So Fury gets on this private jet, and he gets greeted by Mason. I actually had to look this up. Mason, Black Widow's fixer from the Black Widow movie.
When John and I watched it, I recognized him immediately. I don't know how, and it prompted John to want to watch Black Widow again. So yeah.
So Mason says, all right, so, we have to ride this piece of shit, which is actually a pretty nice private jet, because the helicarrier got retired, just like you should be, you old fucking coot.
Yeah.
Now, here's your fake passport, and you gonna thank me? No? Okay, well, fuck you too.
Yeah.
By the way, it's a couple hours to Finland. You should take a nap, because you seem really grumpy right now.
You old fuck.
Yeah. So Guy and Priscilla make a funeral pyre for Talos in Priscilla's backyard, and Guy is like, Talos was our fucking leader, dude. He should have had an entire procession with every single Skrull marching in it. And Priscilla's like, he was never one for big hooplas like that. So Daenerys Targaryen puts her mother's ring on the wrapped body as a sort of, funeral offering. And she says, I don't actually know the prayer we're supposed to say at this point. Priscilla's like, don't worry, I got you. So
I'll make one up.
Yeah. So she's, praying in the Skrull language as Gaia lights the pyre, and it's the end of Return of the Jedi where Luke burns Vader.
She looks off in the distance and is like, I'm Gaia Skywalker.
Yeah. So afterwards, they go walking through the house, and Guy's like, man, the last words I ever said to him was to call Talos a failure. Like, that was kind of shitty of me.
I love that. I love this line here, by the way.
Priscilla, I didn't actually write this line down. She said, it's because...
It sounds like something you said that you thought you would have the chance to apologize for the next time you saw him. Yeah. Yeah.
Priscilla's like, before the snap, I told Fury to fucking stop chasing aliens and start paying attention to the alien he married. Like, Gravik is apparently trying to kill Priscilla because insubordination, because she didn't kill her husband, which was a kind of silly thing for Gravik to have been ordered to order in the first place.
But, by the way, that is indicative of some outrageously delusional narcissism to think that your hold over someone would be so concrete and complete that someone would kill their own spouse for them. That's insane.
Yeah, megalomania.
Yeah. So
she's like, I know Gravik's sending people to kill me, but I don't really want to leave because, I just love this house too much. Like, I picked this house, I think she said before that she even married Nick.
Yeah.
And because she
we've fucked in every room in this house.
Yeah,
I'm not leaving.
Like, I picked this house because I wanted something that would bring Fury home regularly.
Mm-hmm.
With the 3 things he values most: lots of privacy, lots of security, and lots of leather, right? Like leather fuck swings. Like I know what that is in the corner. Like, you people have fucked here.
Yeah.
Priscilla's like, actually, lots of light.
Yeah.
And she talks about how Nick would like sit and read a book, and the sun would be on his skin. And Guy's like, yeah, did he ever fucking look at your green ass skin? And Priscilla's like, that is none of your fucking business, young lady.
But yes.
Yes.
Frequently and with lots of enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah. Priscilla's like, look, bitch, you don't know anything about what it takes to make a marriage work. And also, if I'm gonna fucking fight for my life, I want to do it right here in my place of happiness, rather than running down some dark fucking alleyway.
Yeah.
And just as she finishes this sentence, someone shoots at them, and they go scrambling down to this greenhouse or conservatory or whatever you want to call it.
Some solarium or something.
Yeah. And Priscilla pulls out some backpacks and hands one to Guy, and like, look, there's a gun and shit in here. We're gonna have to fight.
Yeah, I've prepared for this, by the way.
Yeah.
I love this, like, this whole like girls get it done moment is pretty great.
It's really good. But also, this is exactly what I would expect from Nick Fury's wife.
Like, oh yeah.
Of course she has gun bags ready to go. Of course she's ready to evacuate on a moment's notice.
That's probably why he fell in love with her. I mean, she's his type.
So they shoot a bunch of SKRULLS, and they're like, okay, we got to get out of here. In Finland, a disguised Nick Fury goes through customs, and like he looks kind of nervous as he hands over his passport, even though he's like very obviously a tall old Finnish man.
Yeah.
And like the customs lady is like, oh yeah, welcome home, congratulations on making it back to Finland. So Fury meets Sonya in the parking lot, and she's like, so let me get this straight, you guys spent years and years and all that fucking money on R&D, and all you got is this little hood that can only disguise your face. Fury's like, yeah, but when version 2.0 comes out next year, it's going to cover all of me.
Yeah. Which, by the way, this is technology they also introduced in Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was pretty neat.
So when Sonya starts the car, there's like some fucking gangster rap on the radio, and Fury's like, this is what we're doing. And Sonya's like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm an enigma. Just fucking roll with it.
Yep. And they go driving off. There's a shot of Priscilla and Gaia in a car in London, and like they kind of hold hands for a moment, and then Gaia gets out to go their separate ways. So Fury and Sonya are driving through the Finnish forest, on their way to Russia, and Sonya's like, okay, so ever since I shot my boss, I'm the new head of SIS, and you haven't congratulated me on that, by the way.
What a great way to get promoted, by the way.
Yeah. But also, by the way, I kind of told Rhodey about, where Camp Skrull is, because, he asked for it. And Fury's like, what the fuck do you do that for? Rhodey's a fucking Skrull.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's a what?
Yeah, I love her expression was like, oh, I guess I just hadn't thought about that.
Fury's like, you say I'm losing my touch. Jesus.
Sonya, everyone's a fucking Skrull.
Yeah.
You could be a Skrull.
So Fury just repeats Gravik's plan one more time. Sonya's like, yes, okay, that makes sense. But, what the fuck is the harvest? Fury's like, well, you see, back, the Battle of Earth, when we beat Thanos' ass, just about every superhero in the universe came here and shed some blood.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I sent around some people to, go collect those blood samples, make sure they didn't fall into the wrong hands. And some of the people I sent might have been SKRULLS.
Yeah.
Including one of them that might have been Gravik.
Yeah. Who at the time I trusted, but...
Yes.
Yeah.
So they stop at a graveyard, and Fury walks up to a tombstone that has his name on it, and she's like, oh, fucking, I didn't know you were dead yet. And he's like, well, dead man's got to have options. There
are so many fucking Colonel Nicholas J. Fury tombstones in the world. Cause,
one in every country, at least.
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
That man has died so many times.
But also this one is here because this is where Fury honeymooned with his wife. And,
right.
I guess he's sentimental about it.
Yeah.
Sonya's like, okay.
I love how, by the way, it's how he tells Sonya that his wife's a Skrull. And it's really brilliant because he said my wife.
She kind of looks at him like, oh.
Yeah, right. And I just love how he was like, we honeymooned here. because Skrulls like the cold, and Finland's cold, and she's like, oh, I get it.
So Sony's like, all right, so like you knew that this situation was bad. Why didn't you just call in the Avengers? And Fury's like, well, number one, this time it's kind of personal.
Yeah.
And also, I don't always want to be relying on superheroes to save the fucking world. Like, regular people should be able to do it sometimes too.
Yeah. Or at least we should be more prepared.
Yeah. So he kind of leans down to the tombstone, kind of blows on it, and some technology activates, and like the top of it lifts off, and there's this little vial in there. And Sony's like, so that's the thing that Gravik wants. It's going to let him take over the entire fucking world, right?
Yeah.
And you're just going to fucking give it to him? And Fury's like, that's the plan.
Yep.
She's like, oh, goody. Well, guess we're all dead. So Fury grabs it and then walks into this mausoleum where he opens up a couple crypts. He pulls out his old coat, his old eye patch, and a gun.
Yep.
He makes a call and says, all right, we don't know who he's talking to. There's no voice that comes back. He says, all right, we're going to finish it. Let's go. And he hangs up, walks out. There's this great hero shot of his back walking out.
With his fucking coat on and shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the episode.
Great. Yeah. So they have to be... I'm pretty sure that any of that DNA would be useful to Gravik.
Yes.
Right? However, being able to replicate Carol Danvers' power would be insane.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be entirely surprised if that's the reason he wants it. Especially when you factor in the fact that Carol was supposed to help them find a planet to live on. He could just be like, I will do the Carol Danvers thing. I will use that power. I will find us a planet. Having a Skrull who is pretty much a tactical nuke in any situation, because I guess Hulk would be kind of crazy to have too.
Mm-hmm.
Though I'm not sure that Hulk bleeds. I don't think.
I feel like he must. It would just take a lot of force.
I don't know. I know comic book Hulk wouldn't bleed because it's just indestructible. But I guess. Do you think they have Howard the Duck's DNA? Because he was in the Battle of Earth. Having, I guess Captain America would be pretty good to have.
Assuming the super soldier serum changed him on a genetic level, then sure.
Right, yeah, because there's probably a whole group, or at least a small group of heroes who, like Ant-Man, for example, isn't super. He just has a cool suit, right?
Yeah.
And same with Tony Stark. Actually, he's not. Mm-hmm. He's not like. He just is really smart and really rich and has a cool suit.
Thor or Valkyrie or any of the Asgardians would be really useful.
I imagine the hyperdrive engine that gave Carol her powers probably changed her on a genetic level. So that could still work as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that
and on the same principle, Scarlet Witch would.
Oh sure, yeah, Wanda, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you? So the next episode is the last episode.
Yes.
Right. And I don't think that. I have my doubts about whether or not they can wrap it up in a satisfying way. Given it's just one episode left, I don't know. But what are the chances that we get? What do you think the chances are that we'll get a cameo from an Avenger we know?
Well, this show is pretty clearly, to my mind, meant to lead into the Marvels. So I
thought so too, yeah.
I think we get at least a post-credits scene where Fury is back on his space station, maybe watching Monica Rambeau go out to touch the jump gate or whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is whether Marvel is willing to keep dropping checks on Emilia Clarke, because if they want to spend... if they want to give Gaia additional Super Skrull powers, they'd have to keep her around, and Daenerys Targaryen don't work for cheap.
Yeah. I also wonder if, because he went on his whole thing about how he doesn't want to keep calling superheroes for help, though I would wonder if I was trying to set up the Marvels, if they can't fit Brie Larson in there somewhere as Captain Marvel. Maybe after it's all said and done, because she can't show up before the conflict is over, because she just end the whole thing.
Yes.
So maybe right after she's done, she's like, oh, I heard that you might be in trouble, like the Skrulls, and he was like, I took care of it.
Or maybe he just sends her a message on the pager or something.
Yeah.
Says, hey, yep, how are you? Think this craziest thing happened on Earth the other day. You'll never believe it.
Or it could be a thing where Carol Danvers shows up and she's like, I found it. I found the planet where the Skrulls are going to settle. Like that's where I have been this entire time. I've been looking, and I think that actually would be an interesting thing, because Gravik's entire motivation is that Carol Danvers didn't find the home that they were promised, and that's why he was all mad and shit. So it'd be funny if she's like, I found it, dude. I was looking the whole fucking time. Just calm the fuck down.
Yeah, just be a little patient.
Yeah. So let's talk about Oppenheimer for a few minutes.
Oh man,
we saw that on Thursday.
Yep.
And we're not going to talk too long about it, because it's a 3-hour movie. I will say that 3 hours generally, there's going to be a part of it that's going to be boring for me, but I don't think there was a single boring scene in all 3 hours of that film.
I don't think there was anything that dragged. I don't think there was anything that felt extraneous.
Yeah.
Like everything was in service to the plot. It's just there was so much stuff.
There was, and I get it. He wanted to do one film, and Oppenheimer's life is so insane and storied that if you're gonna do it in one movie, it's got to be long. I love how it's set up. So first of all, the cast is crazy. That there are so many fucking famous faces in it. Robert Downey Jr. is like probably the standout performance for me as well. Plays who is that? Senator Strauss or Strauss?
Strauss,
right? Yeah. And fucking Matt Damon is the grumpy army guy that just wants to get shit done, and
General Matt Damon, as he will forever be.
Right. Emily Blunt from A Quiet Place plays Oppenheimer's wife, who's amazing. And so if you know anything about Oppenheimer, spoilers isn't really a thing that you put on this.
Yeah,
because it's just kind of like
he was a giant fucking nerd who made huge advancements in physics and made the atomic bomb.
Yeah. And the thing that, like, I will tell you, they set the tension up for this, and it winds and winds and winds until they do their atomic test, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. That part of the film is amazing when they finally test the bomb and everything. And
it reminds me of the Holdo maneuver, honestly, because they do a lot of the same tricks, like this visually stunning thing with almost no sound happening.
Right. You know what's fucking insane about that? They didn't use CGI for it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was practical in camera. Isn't that nuts?
Obviously not an actual nuke.
No, I don't think so. Yeah,
I hope not.
Yeah, they like.
I feel like that would violate some international treaties.
Yeah, they well, we did it for Chris Nolan. The world's like, we understand, we get it. Okay. But yeah, it was a practical thing, and the music plays into it really well. It was written by Ludwig Göransson. And there's this motif as they get closer, this ticking clock. And it just seems, there's a certain point where you don't have the feeling that they could stop it. Like, it was inevitable. That, like, the weight of it is, and I posted about this on Facebook, but like the entire ride home from that, I was having this insane feeling of existential dread. That like when you consider our existence, our minuscule, insignificant existence in this universe, with the tools at our disposal and the universe and the physics of it, that we are literally infants playing with fire. We have no idea what the fuck we're doing. And the fact that there was a non-zero chance that when they did this test, they could have killed every man, woman, and child on Earth, and they did it anyway. It just,
because the chances were almost zero.
Yeah, but it wasn't. But it was not zero.
It was not.
That's, by the way, very serious movie throughout. Mm-hmm. One moment of levity right before the test is between Oppenheimer and General Matt Damon, where he's like, we've done the math on this. It's almost 0, but we might kill everyone. He's like, wait, run that one past
0.
Yeah, run that one past me again. And he's like, no, it's not 0, but it's close to 0. And he's like, when are we doing this? He's like, oh, in a few seconds. I just wanted you to know. And he's like, oh my fucking God, what is this? Go ahead.
Just talking about the nuke test is a good segue, I think, into some of the more artsy things that this movie does.
Yeah.
Some of the like art cinema sequences.
Sure.
So that there's a part where Oppenheimer like leaves Los Alamos to have a romantic tryst with his communist girlfriend.
Yeah.
And like presumably after they fuck, they're sitting in this hotel room in these really fancy chairs. They're both naked,
but
and they're just
but
having
naked.
this having this very frank conversation about, where can this go? What are our futures like? And it's like, it probably didn't literally happen that way in real life, but it's an artistic way to show that they're being completely open and vulnerable with each other.
Yeah. Which was not something he could necessarily, I guess, do with, I know. So apparently I appreciate that they were willing to acknowledge Oppenheimer's flaws, which was that he was a womanizer. I mean,
Yes.
he was not a perfect man. I mean, and he, like, we always think of Albert Einstein as this like genial, harmless, dude. But like, who had also been like, he had 2 marriages too, but like Oppenheimer had some faults. He was, I think he had a little stint of alcoholism. He was a womanizer. He was notoriously hard to work with sometimes. And was very unlikable.
Another thing this movie does really well is it shows that although Oppenheimer and the physicists he worked with were totally on board with the project to make the atomic bomb and end World War II, there were a lot of scientists who did not and refused to do this. He tried to recruit Einstein. Einstein said no.
Nope.
Niels Bohr showed up at some point to tell them, this is what the Nazis are doing. And Oppenheimer's like, great, so you're going to help us, right? And Niels Bohr's like, fuck no, I'm out of here.
Yep. This is insane. You guys are fucking insane.
Yeah. Like, it was not at all a unanimous thing among the community of scientists at that time. It would have been crazy to have lived in this time period. And I don't know how comfortable I am living in a world where we have this kind of power to just annihilate each other completely within seconds. It when you start to think about it, it is truly terrifying. Yeah. If it's any consolation, we're more likely to die from human-induced global climate change than we are in a nuclear war.
Yeah, which, yay, at least we have that.
We die slowly instead of instantly.
Yeah. I love how the antagonist of the movie, Robert Downey Jr.'s character,
Strauss.
Yeah, his entire motivation is that he thought Oppenheimer talked shit about him once to Einstein, and he embarrassed him.
Congress,
and then he embarrassed him in a meeting, and it precipitated this career-long scheme to discredit Oppenheimer. And it just I love Robert Downey Jr.'s performance in this. I thought he was great.
Which is another one of those really artsy things the movie does. So the framing device is that in whatever we consider the present day, there's this. So Oppenheimer is called into this hearing about whether they should re-up his security clearance so he can keep talking
this bureaucratic thing.
And at basically the same time or a little bit after, Strauss is going through this confirmation hearing to be the commerce secretary for the president's cabinet.
Did you notice Alden Ehrenreich, by the way?
I don't think I did.
His aide that was preparing him for that was Alden Ehrenreich. Brilliant, by the way. It was very well acted.
But all the Strauss scenes are in black and white, which I didn't totally get at first until I noticed that every single scene Oppenheimer is in full color. Yeah. So it's meant, I think, to be this dichotomy between the two characters and the way they see the world. Maybe
we could go on for hours over the brilliance of this. It really is a brilliant movie. It's heavy. I'll probably only watch it once.
There's one more scene I really want to highlight.
Mhm.
So after
Yeah, me too.
the
But after that,
bombs
we'll
get dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki,
Yeah. Gary Oldman, by the way, played President Truman, and it was fucking great.
So like Oppenheimer's at Los Alamos with all the scientists and the families assembled in the gymnasium.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Like he walks in and they're all like chanting his name and stomping on the bleachers, and there's this huge sound that actually comes back a few times in the movie when like he's in the hearing and like the pressure is coming in.
Yeah.
And he just feels this. So he walks up to the podium, and like you can see everyone is cheering for him, but he doesn't hear anything.
But you can hear them moving.
Yeah, you hear them stomping and stuff, but you don't hear their voices.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And then he like gets up and like the when he's giving his speech, there's a close up on his face, and you can see in behind him like the background is like rippling.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Tension and stuff.
Yeah,
and like he recites these jingoistic rah rah go pro war lines because it's what the people want to hear, and he doesn't hear them cheering for him. And then as he's walking out, he looks at people and he like double takes and sees two different things. Like the first time he looks at a woman in the stands, she's cheering, and then the next time she's crying. And then he looks at a couple and like they're making out, and then he looks again and they're like kind of consoling each other. And it's like he sees this scene of a woman, he like hallucinates that her face is peeling off from fire and radiation and shit. It's a really good way to show how conflicted he's become.
I can't imagine
he's actually
right the burden he must have. I mean, unless he was just a psychopath, the burden he must have carried.
He's very evidently not, because immediately after he's going around trying to get people to stop using nukes.
Right,
and,
it became his entire life's mission. Yeah. Right, yeah. I really the last scene. I love how this film ends, where you get another perspective of the conversation that he has with Einstein, that upset Strauss or Robert fucking Downey Jr.
Yeah,
and. Because earlier in the film, he showed him some math and was like, here's the math on the likelihood that we will destroy the entire planet. And
can you just double check this for us?
Yeah, and Einstein was like, nope, I don't want any part of this. And
which is understandable.
Yeah. And later on, at the end of the film, he's like, years ago, I asked you about that math and about the about the likelihood that we would have killed the entire planet. And they talked about it, and he's like, what was it about them? Like, what did you think of the math, or what is the likelihood that what did you think the likelihood of us killing the entire planet was? And Albert Einstein replies, "You've already started that. Like, that's inevitable. Mm-hmm. Like you've started that already. So good job. Like it maybe not today or tomorrow or in a few decades, but eventually." This is how the human race will end. So, bye. And that's why
that's
he was.
How the movie ends?
Yeah, and that's why he's in a bad mood when he passes Strauss. And it's not because Strauss like Oppenheimer didn't turn him against him or anything. And it's just the fragility of that character's ego, that like having Einstein just be in a bad mood around him. He was like, "Oh, he turned Einstein against me. My entire life's work is going to be to discredit this man." Just the whole thing, fucking brilliant. I loved it. John and I are going to go see Barbie. I know that these things are married together. Barbie and Oppenheimer are married together. I don't understand why you can't compare them. They're entirely
just released
different.
On the same day. That's
it. One's R-rated, and so it just has impossible weight to it. The other one's the opposite of that. It's like in every respect. But we're going to go see it in a couple of days. I'll let you know what I think. So we're going to be done there. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe.